This year it was the Seahawks. I think John Snyder is an excellent GM. I think the last 3 drafts have been outstanding. And you and I have both liked Darnold for a long time. When I watch them, sometimes, Greg, I do the sound down test. Turn the sound down, take the announcers out, watch the speed and athletic ability of a team. And when you turn the sound down with the Seahawks and you just forget who they are, that team has got athletes. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm sorry, but that's a number 1. You're watching Darnold. I don't know. I'm not saying they're Philadelphia. I'm not saying they have that roster, but the film has got to say they're athletic. They play with a lot of energy, do they not?
They sure do. And what you really notice it, and yes, Darnold is very, very good, and he's played very well going back to last year with Minnesota and certainly this year. And one of the things he does as well as any quarterback in the league is throw the ball down the field. But you look at that defense now, that defense is really athletic. They're very good on defense, and a lot of people are probably not thinking about them as a really good defensive team. And by the way, they haven't even gotten to play because he was injured in the preseason. Nick Emanwari, I guess he was an early second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, the safety from South Carolina, who I think within the context of how Mike McDonald plays defense is going to be a really impactful player. So to me, this is a pretty complete team. They'd like to get their run game going a little more, but I think it will because Kenneth Walker has a lot of ability. But right now, I look at Seattle as a really solid team.
Yeah. Did I mishear him where he says people don't think of them as being a great defensive team? That if he said that, that threw me off. Maybe I'm just mistaken. I've been saying that they're I think they've been a great defensive team. Obviously, McDonald, great defensive coach. I think what makes this team so fascinating right now is that it's flushed with people like Colin is saying, like, oh, turn down the volume down, forget who these guys are. And it's just like, well, I think that's part of the problem. Nobody really, but there's too many names on this team that people don't really know. And I'm sympathetic to that because I think it's always hard to really know how great talent is. When you always hear this on sports talk, how deep this team is, or so and so, and they'll be like, oh, and sometimes people say, like, oh, there's no excuses, everyone's injured and yada yada yada, and it's just like, well, you have no idea really who some of these players are. Even if you remember some of them from college, or even if you remember, oh, that guy played for the Patriots a few years ago, blah, like, you don't really know the talent. It's really hard outside of the bona fide players that we have gotten to know for years and years and years, right? Like we know Justin Jefferson. We know Jamar Chase. We know Saquon Barkley. We know, I don't know, I could just keep naming names, right? And it doesn't even have to be Pro Bowlers or or true special talents, but like just players that we've seen now consistently for years. And I think this team is just too many people on this roster that people just don't quite know or trust or believe in terms of outside looking in. Obviously the Seahawks believe in and all of that. But even someone like, I think really the perfect indicator of this is actually Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold more than anything, because it's like, yeah, they're like not bad Clint Kubiak, he's a coordinator, he's a play caller, he's not going to be like a total scrub. He's competent, but they don't really believe in him being great or an awesome offensive coordinator. They did for a second, and then that fizzled away wrongfully from my viewpoint, but very quickly. And then Sam Darnold was like, yeah, he's pretty good. He's Sam Darnold. He's okay. He's not bad. He's he's a bridge quarterback or something. You can win some games with him, but like probably nothing too special, etc., etc. And it's just like, it's the lack of belief and trust. And I think, again, because even Colin's like, I'm sorry, and Jigba's a great receiver. And I look at that, I'm like, why are you sorry? Yeah, he's a great receiver. Like I don't know if the Seahawks were necessarily doubting. Like, they're the one that said, okay, DK, like, we're good, go away, like we're comfortable with what we're building right now. They're making these smart decisions. So there's obviously a lot of belief here. And so it just makes sense to me considering what we're seeing. I'm curious in terms of how defenses are playing this team, if they'll be able to get the run game going, if Sam Darnold's threat becomes more and more respected, if they'll be able to start to really catch defenses off guard with some of the rushing attack that they want to be able to do with this team. If there's just if there can be a little bit more I don't want to say balance because I think it's been balanced, but just what word do I want to use here? Just not even necessary creativity, because they have done some interesting things, especially within Jigba. But I guess just even more in terms of a traditional run game going. If there could be maybe just the feeling that you're really keeping defenses on your toes rather than just trying to be like, hey, we're going to run the ball and we're just going to try to win the line of scrimmage and, get through it here. I'd like them to see, because since someone like Sam Darnold can push the ball down the field, I just would like to see them really set up a big run with the passing game. And we see that a lot with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I even said, because their run game was struggling in the beginning of the season when they were kind of injured. And then, of course, surprise, surprise, Xavier Worthy's there. And when they can push the ball down the field, the run game now is a lot more open. And it's just like, oh, really? Like, go figure. That's often how these things work. And so I would like to see Clint Kubiak be able to use that in a little bit more creative way, I guess. We'll just leave the word as creative. And I think then that just, again, I always talk about this, it just ends up being this feedback loop, right? Where it's like you use the throw to set up the run, and then the run's going, and now you use the run to set up the throw. Like it's just very synergistic, and it makes everything so much easier. And this is the problem with football, is that it's both insanely complicated and also insanely easy. When I first started making all these videos and talking sports, I had like such a horrifying feeling of just like, you can pretty much say the same thing about every single team. You can say the same thing about every single quarterback, about every single coach, about every single team. Oh, well, you gotta, you can't give up big plays, and you gotta be able to establish the run. You gotta take care of the ball. Like it's just, you could say the same thing again and again and again about every single team. And Greg Cosell earlier in this segment was talking about the 49ers, and he was just talking about how the 49ers struggles right now are that they can't run the ball. And so, yeah, of course, someone like a Brock Purdy is going to struggle with this type of situation, that Christian McCaffrey is getting met at the line of scrimmage, every single time. They're dead last in yards before contact, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, yeah, and then you can say that about every quarterback. If it's true for one quarterback, then it's true for all quarterbacks. If it's true for one team, one coach, one offense, it's true for all of them. And so if there can be just a more reliable way to get the run game going in a more threatening way, we're yet to see Sam Darnold when he can kind of have a more foundational approach of like, listen, I actually get to kind of just sit back here and I will just strategically pick you apart. Because we will be able to rock you to sleep, because you're still not really sure what Sam can do in any given moment. I don't think Sam is truly that respected just yet. And it was different in Minnesota because they're such a pass forward team, and you have the pieces like Justin Jefferson and whatnot. And so it is just going to be attack. And you're going to have some big plays because you obviously have, big play receivers. But if they could just really lean on the run game, lean on the defense, and even get, I don't want to say conservative with Sam, but just pick your moments with Sam. I think that could really unlock this team in a way that becomes just so much harder to defend. Honestly, just so much harder, less predictable. We saw the predictability in the final couple of drives when they were clearly just trying to run out the clock, which we talked about, against the Cardinals. And you still see too many moments of that throughout the season. The Eagles are struggling with this as well. And I just feel as though if you can just force defenses to really just be on their toes about what you're about to do, I just think that someone like a quarterback like Sam Darnold, you'll just have the feeling that just anything can happen in any given moment. And if you're a defense playing an offense where you just feel anything can happen in any given moment, that to me is the ultimate feeling. It's different when we're going up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. We know they're letting it rip. Oh, we're going up against Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. We know they're letting it rip. Oh, Sean McVay, we know we're letting it rip. But you know what? Someone like an Andy Reid, you play them and you're just like, anything could happen. Lamar Jackson, anything can happen. The Philadelphia Eagles, we know they want to run first, and especially last year, but you're like, anything, A.J. Brown, Devontae, Saquon, Jalen, anything can happen. And when a defense is like anything can happen, it's like, well, anything can happen. It's uncomfortable. And I think you feel it as a fan too when you're especially when you're the opposing team and you're watching those teams play and they call hike and you just know that there's like that half second between a play is about to happen. You're just like, oh gosh, like what's about to happen in this moment? It's different when you're watching the Rams. It's different when you were watching the Vikings. Like it's just I don't want to say that it's predictable, but you know what you're getting there. And they have the quarterbacks and the coaching staff to be able to attack. But I think when you can build an offense that you're just like, man, I don't know what's about to happen here, just goes a really, really, really long way. And the Vikings have the passing game. The Seahawks have the passing game for that. If they can just get a much more threatening and creative run game, then I just think it's greater than the sum of its parts personally. And I trust the defense will continue to take care of business. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Seattle Seahawks? How impressed have you been with how Seattle's been playing and how balanced they are? And this game against the Bucs, this is not going to be my I feel like I've made like 10 Seattle Seahawks videos in the last few days because you guys are rising to the occasion. So but let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.